or make sure that our fellow teammates who couldn't make the call are able to get the information. Great. So first of all, thank you all so much for making time to hop on this call for us to have a briefing and touch base with each other. And also thank you so much for volunteering your time to be a part of this very special election observer team. So as you know, Make Us Count, our interfaith and multinational election observer team is run by the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, which is the human rights voice and umbrella body of the South African Jewish community. And we are stationed at polls in various cities across the country on election day. Some of you have been with us since we started back in 2009. I can't believe it's been that long. And for some of you, this is your very first time observing. So welcome to everyone and thank you. I would also at the start like to thank my colleagues, Gabriella Farber-Cohen and Roseanne Rosen, who have helped so much in pulling off Make Us Count this year and have been incredible with the logistics in the background. And if you have any questions after this call or in the lead up to election day, please just reach out to either Gabriella or myself, or the email address, makeuscountsa@gmail.com. So we'll just get straight into some of the information that we want to touch on this evening. I thought it would be good to start off with a brief description of exactly what an observer is. So during a national election, such as the one that we are having this week, observers can be both domestic and international, and they play a really crucial role in ensuring that the elections are transparent, free, and fair, and that the outcome is accepted by the voters, the political parties, and the candidates. The United Nations talks about how election observers help build public confidence in the honesty of the electoral processes. And as we all know, this is such an important election in South African history, so it's even more important that there is that public confidence. And observers are there to help promote, to protect the civil and political rights of participants in the election, and to help with corrections if there are errors or weak practices whilst the elections are underway. We are also there to deter manipulation and fraud and to expose any problems if they do occur. And when observers issue positive reports, it really, again, builds trust in this democratic process and ensures that there is a legitimacy for the government that emerges from the elections. So just to say also up front, and I know this is something that we have stressed, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page, an election observer is a completely volunteer position. So it is actually against the law for us to accept any remuneration from the IEC or to be paid. And that is to ensure that we are not able to be bribed and that we are there to be completely independent and transparent. As part of our team, you will have a few hours of your time that you're going to give to observe on election day, and it will be at your assigned voting station. Now, remember, we have asked all of you to let us know which voting station you would like to observe at and how many hours you can give on the day. We ask that you spend at least an hour observing. We know some of you are very busy and we all have family and other commitments, but an hour as a minimum to be able to see the processes and how the elections are going at the voting station is really crucial. But many of our observers want to spend the whole day or many hours at the stations. You are free to do so. We would encourage you to spend as much time as you can, and also to move around between voting stations. So because we know that you're not receiving any remuneration, we want you to be at a station that's as close to your home as possible so that you don't incur any extra costs. But if you would like to travel around and see other voting stations, again, we encourage that greatly. And if you would like to have an idea of where the other voting stations in your area or your city are, you can go to the Voting Station Finder app, which is on the IEC website. Again, we will share that link. It was in one of our emails, but I will put it again on the group so that everyone can refer to that. And we are there primarily to monitor the IEC officials and any political party representatives who are there at the voting stations, and to make sure that the elections are free and fair. Also, for those of you who would like to, you are able to verify the results and to be a part of the counting process alongside the IEC officials. So because we are officially accredited by the IEC, we are able to also be a part of that process. And at the end of the voting day, not exactly on Wednesday, we'll give you a little bit of time because everyone is busy, but we do request that as part of our team and as part of being an election observer, you put together a brief report about your experiences on the day of what happened at your voting stations. Make sure that you jot down the name of the station, the name of the presiding officer from the IEC who is there, and share that with Gabby and myself. Because what we will be doing is then collating all of our reports together into one document, and we then submit it to the head of the IEC for their consideration. And this is a really important part of this process and of having observers. So please do make sure that you do that for us. And we also ask that you take photographs of yourself outside the voting stations. Obviously, it's illegal for any photographs to be taken in the voting booths themselves, but to have photographs to document the queues and to share any uplifting stories, any great experiences in the Facebook group and in our WhatsApp group, but of course also to be in touch with us to let us know throughout the day if there are any problems that you come across. So as we have done previously, we all have a Facebook group, as I mentioned, and a WhatsApp group for us to be in touch on the day. And we also would like to encourage you to take to social media if you have a Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter account, and to share your experiences of the elections with the hashtag #MakeUsCount, so that we can raise awareness not only about election observing and encourage people to get to the polls, but also to tell them about our fantastic group. A word about the bibs. As you know, we've been hard at work getting the bibs from the IEC at quite short notice. It's usual how this happens. It's normally quite last minute, and couriering them to different spots around the country. Gabby has been in touch with everyone about the collection points. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to her. It's crucial, just to stress, that you are wearing your IEC accredited bib and your name tag on the day. Without that, you will not be allowed to observe the elections, and the presiding officer can turn you away. So it's very important to have that on you and to make sure that you collect that by tomorrow, because the elections are, of course, on Wednesday. Some key points to remember about the day. We ideally would like you to be there to monitor the opening of the polls. So to be there before 7 a.m., which is when officially the opening starts. This is quite a crucial time because this is when the ballot papers should arrive in boxes that are obviously sealed, and they should be unmarked and not tampered with. So it's important for that to be seen. And we do ask, when you arrive at the voting station, whether it's at the start of the polls or another station you visit during the day, please go up to the IEC presiding officer and introduce yourself politely, explain who you are, that you come from the Make Us Count Jewish Board of Deputies Observer Team. You can show them your bib and your name tag. Some of them will note that down and want to double check that. Others are a bit more relaxed, but it's just courtesy to do that so that they know who you are and why you are there. And as I said, if you see anything problematic during the day, the process is to, of course, first approach the presiding officer immediately and let them know that there is a problem, but also to reach out to us in the group to let us know what you are seeing so that we can relay that information back to the IEC head office. Another crucial time, of course, if you are able to, is to be there for the closing of the polls, which is going to be quite late on Wednesday. It might, of course, be extended, so we'll be in touch, but we're looking at 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And at that point, it's very important to ensure that the ballot boxes are being sealed correctly, that no ballot papers are being discarded or tampered with. And remember, if you do decide that you would like to stay and to assist with the counting of the votes, once the doors of the station are closed, they have to be locked when counting begins, and everyone present in the room has to take their cell phones and hand it over into a safe box that is kept there. So you are not allowed to come and go from the station or use your cell phones when the vote counting begins. So just know that it could be a very long night depending on how busy your voting station has been. I have been in a voting station counting votes until 2 a.m. previously. Some of our other observers in previous years have been there until well into the next morning. So just know that it's a fascinating process, but it can be quite long. And once you've committed, you're in there. You aren't allowed to come in and out. Just a practical note about what's important to bring with you on election day, because it can be a very long day. Make sure you're wearing comfortable clothes and shoes. Very important that you do not have any political insignia on yourself. It has to be completely civilian, neutral clothes. And please take water and snacks with you so that you have that on hand. It's a lot of standing around. You also, as I said, have to have your name tag and bib. You must, if you can, have with you your phone so that you can take photographs and you can be in touch with us, of course. And a pen and notebook is also very handy to be able to jot down notes so that you can then fill out your report for us as well. When you are observing, it's important to make sure that you are not seeing any intimidation of voters and that people whose correct details appear on the voter's roll are not being turned away. Obviously, people can only vote where they're registered. This is a big problem with every election. People arrive at a voting station, they want to vote, but that is not where they are registered. Obviously, the IEC is right in that instance to turn them away. They must go to where they are registered. But if they are on the roll, it's important that they are allowed to vote. A key thing is to watch out for political parties campaigning inside the voting stations. This is not allowed. They are allowed to have political party observers inside the stations, also for their political party to be observing the polls, but they are not allowed to engage with voters and to be campaigning. Also important to know, one voter, one vote. You can't come around for a second try or anything like that. It's very important to make sure that it's going through the right process as well on the floor. And we must check that voters are having their names crossed off the roll and that their thumbs are being marked correctly with the ink once they have voted. Okay, it's also crucial to make sure that the integrity of the secret ballot is upheld, that the voting booths give people privacy so that their vote is their secret. And we need to make sure that voters are being issued with a ballot paper that is correctly stamped. It's the 3 ballots this year, which is causing some confusion. So we must make sure that the security features are all in place. And as I said, when the ballot boxes arrive at the polls, we must make sure that they're not tampered with and that they are sealed correctly at the end of the day. We will have a bulk SMS system in place to send out messages, but I think everyone has indicated that they're available on WhatsApp. So Gabby and I will really be using WhatsApp as the main means of communication on the day to be in touch. But of course, if you have any queries or questions, you're not able to WhatsApp, then give us a call, email us, and also please make use of the Facebook page as well, or the group, so that we can be in touch with each other in that way. I know that our time on this Zoom is going to run out shortly, but I did just want to mention that on the IEC website, there are some very interesting resources that I will share with you around the counting and results, how it works for the national and provincial elections. They also have a really great page that deals with election fraud, how the system works in terms of the National Assembly, the provincial legislature. Obviously, this is not all things that we have to know offhand, but in case you get asked on election day, and also just for your own knowledge, it's really interesting to have a look at that. And I would like to touch on, if I can, for the last few minutes, just this issue of the 3 ballots, because it is something new and exciting, and there's been a lot of fake news and questions spread on social media about it. So just to know that on the 29th of May, when we go to vote, we are going to be each given 3 ballot papers. So the first one is the National Compensatory Ballot. The second is the National Regional Ballot. And then the third is the provincial legislature ballot. And on each ballot, the voter must make 1 X. Okay, so the national compensatory ballot is contested by political parties only. The regional ballot is contested by political parties and independent candidates in that specific region. And then the provincial legislature ballot is political parties and independent candidates in the province. Okay, so the national compensatory ballot is blue, and you can make 1 X on that page. The national regional ballot is a orange color, and you can make 1 X on that page. And the provincial legislature ballot is pink, and you can make 1 X on that page. So that is important to know. If you have any questions, if you're being asked by people in the queue, then just let them know that you can feed back to us. You can always say if you don't have the answer or you don't know offhand, it's something that we haven't touched, please give me a moment. I'm just going to relay back to my team, and we will try to be in touch with you on the day with answers as quickly as possible. Just to say also, with the reports in previous years, the IEC have given us an observer checklist for everyone to fill out that asks very specific questions. We haven't been given that so far this year. If we are given it before Wednesday, we will obviously send that out to all of you. But don't worry if you don't receive it in time. What you can do is just jot down your thoughts, give us a description. As I said, important to note the name of the presiding officer at the voting station, the correct name of the voting station, and obviously your details in the report, and send that through to us of any highlights. And what's also important is to give praise where praise is due. The IEC are very, very stretched this year. They have a very big job ahead of them for Wednesday, and they have really been helpful. And in the past, our experience with working with IEC election observers on the day is very positive. So it's also nice to note names of people that we can mention to the IEC are doing a really great job. And then, of course, to note if there are any problems. But it's important, again, to mention that on the day, as problems arise, your first port of call is to go to the presiding officer and then to be in touch with Gabby and I and in the group so that we can work quickly. What we do then is feed it back to the IEC headquarters, and then they give us then the feedback. Other questions that have come up in the past, and I know I've had a question from one of our observers this evening, where are the bounds of where we can step in at the voting stations? And it's important to know that as much as we want to be helpful and we are there to make sure that things are working smoothly, we are not there to run the voting station. That is the job of the IEC presiding officer and the IEC team on the ground. We are there to observe, stand to the side, to not, for example, we can't go out and buy food and drink for the IEC officials, even if they're doing a great job and they're asking for help to go and get something. That's not our role. We're also there if we see, for example, something that does come up is the queues. Often the lines aren't being formed correctly. Elderly people, women that are pregnant or breastfeeding with small children, people with disabilities, they should be able to go to the front of the queue. If you see that that's not happening, it's not for you to step in and to start directing people. Go to the IEC presiding officer. Again, just introduce yourself, let them know that you're there to assist as an IEC accredited observer, and suggest the right way that they might be able to do that. So I have a few questions that have come up in the chat. I don't know if we'll have time to go through all of them, but please know that if this cuts out, you can be in touch with us in the WhatsApp group and directly with Gabby or myself, and at the email address if there is anything else you need. A question that has come up a few times: can we answer voter questions in the voting station, or should we refer them to the staff? That's a good question. If you know the answer and you're confident that you're able to assist, you can definitely give an answer. But otherwise, if you are unsure, just tell them that you'll relate it back to our team and that you can then give them an answer in a few moments, or direct them to the IEC presiding officer. We are there to observe. We are not there to run the voting station. that is up to the IEC. Then there are also some questions about that have come up previously about helping people vote. So if there is a voter who arrives at the voting station and they have mobility issues or they are not able to make a mark themselves, you are there to make sure that somebody from the IEC goes with them to the voting station and helps them vote, but that they are in no way intimidated, that their vote is still kept secret. And what you should do is maybe when you are seeing this take place and the person's coming forward and is about to cast their vote, raise the issue with the IEC presiding officer and ask them, do you know what the protocols are and how to help people with making their mark? Because in the past, we've had issues with political party observers coming in and trying to help people cast their vote, which is not allowed. So the time is now, unfortunately, about to cut, but I just want to thank you all for making the time to join. We have recorded this, so we will send it out. If there is anything else that we hear from the IEC, in the meantime, we will be in touch and send that out to you. But otherwise, I think we have everything that we need to be able to do our jobs. It is so fantastic to be a part of the democratic process. And as I said before, it's wonderful that we have a team of people from across different faith groups and religious communities. It's also wonderful that we have members of the refugee, asylum seeker, and migrant community as part of our team. And it really is fascinating to be able to see democracy in action, something that has been so hard fought for in this country, and to be a part of it and to make sure that it's free and fair. The results will be really interesting. And if anybody is going to be planning to do the vote counting at their station, please reach out to Gabby and I, because there are a few more points about exactly how the results must be kind of stationed on the outside of the voting station. Another point and a question that's come up, are SAPS allowed in the voting stations? Each voting station should have a member of the SAPS there, and they should definitely be present for the counting of the votes as well. And when that has finished and the voting station is closed and locked and the results are posted on the door, they should be a part of jotting those results down and feeding it back to HQ. But again, if there's anything else that comes up, we are here. And thank you so much for giving up your time, for being a part of this process. And just make sure that you have your bib and your name tag on the day. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good evening and enjoy voting day.
Thanks, Alana.
IDs. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for that really interesting briefing.